Hey everybody, Jane here, and today I am doing a review on Lord Dashwood Missed Out by Tessa Dare. This is a novella by Tessa Dare, and it is fairly short. I also did read this one in physical form. The other two Tessa Dares I read in audiobook. And I will say I'm definitely preferring the audiobook version, so I will probably be reading most of the rest of the Tessa Dares in audiobook form unless I can't easily get a hold of the audiobook, and then I'll do the paperback. But I didn't love the paperback nearly as much as the audiobook as far as I have read so far. So, what is this about? Eleanor is a young lady who had a major crush on Lord Dashwood, and Lord Dashwood, he had feelings for her as well, but he didn't pursue those feelings. They had been childhood friends, and particularly he was her brother's best friend, and then her brother was killed in an accident, and so they have kind of this painful cloud hanging over their relationship. But anyway, so Miss Browning, Miss Eleanor, she, after he left without the relationship going where she would like it to, she writes a pamphlet about what happened and about basically saying he missed out. He missed out on the best thing that could have ever happened to him. And she's become very famous for this pamphlet. She's, got some fame as an author. And when the story opens, she is traveling to do a book reading in a small town, and that is the town of the Spindle Cove. I do want to say, having not read the other Spindle Cove books, I feel was a disadvantage to me, and I really want to go back and do that now. If you are considering reading this novella, I would read the other Spindle Cove books first and read this when appropriate, because it's not a very good standalone. Throughout the majority of the early part of the book, we do have what's going on with Eleanor and what's going on with Mr. Dashwood, or Lord Dashwood, which I'll get to in a second, of how they get connected here. But she's traveling to Spindle Cove, and you have whole sections of the book that are in Spindle Cove and the people of Spindle Cove. And throughout the early part of the book, I was just like, I don't know who these people are. I don't really care. But I did later, and they're interesting, and now I want to read the other books in Spindle Cove. So Eleanor's heading to Spindle Cove to a bookstore to give a reading. And her wagon that she was supposed to catch has left without her. It left early due to an incoming snowstorm. She gets put in a wagon that happens to have Lord Dashwood, who immediately basically calls her out for writing that pamphlet and saying that, she ruined his reputation because she changed one letter of his name. It's Ashwood in the pamphlet, and of course he's Lord Dashwood. So he's calling her out for that. He's basically says he's going to sue her for libel, etc. And as they're traveling, it starts to snow and get yucky out, and their carriage gets stranded. She and Lord Dashwood end up spending the night together in this little cabin. And he basically tells her, prove to me that I missed out, or what did I miss out on, and prove it so that I can't sue you for libel. Okay, so I gave this a 4 out of 5, but of the 3 Tessa Dares I've read so far, this has been my least favorite. The characters were not as well developed as in the novels, which I think is to be expected from the novella, from the fact it's a novella. The characters were okay. I didn't love them. I didn't love the setup, particularly once we get a little further into the reveals about things are not what they seem. And I can't say much about that without spoiling, but things are not quite what they seem, and it's more than mere coincidence that she has run into Lord Dashwood at this point. And honestly, I didn't care for the way the story went. Yeah, the way the story went didn't work for me. Another thing that I didn't necessarily like when I started, but I did by the end, was the Spindle Cove stuff. So once it is clear that a snowstorm is happening and there's an issue, the ladies in Spindle Cove, particularly the two that own the bookstore, and I wasn't sure exactly, two other people who are in some way related to them or the bookstore, send their husbands out to go and save Eleanor, bring her back into town, because obviously it's snowing and she's supposed to have arrived and she hasn't, and they are worried. And so there's a lot of kind of jokiness and things with the relationship. I'm assuming that the Spindle Cove men who are going out to save Eleanor are people who had romances earlier in the book or in the series. They seem really interesting. I was fascinated by their stories, fascinated by their characters, and I do want to read more of that. So by the end, I was interested in them, but in the beginning, before I really got their characters, and it is a lot of characters for a novella this size to care about, because you really couldn't know very much about them until after they're already out searching, and it takes a while for them to go. But I didn't love that in the beginning of the book. I was really frustrated because I'm like, I don't care what's going on in Spindle Cove. I just want to see what happens when Eleanor and Lord Dashwood get in this cabin and are stuck, and where we go from here. And yeah, so I didn't love that as much. But again, by the end of the book, I did feel like I liked the secondary characters. There is some steam in this book, and it was fun. Again, I didn't necessarily love it as much as I did Say Yes to the Marquess and When a Scot Ties the Knot, but it is a novella, and it took for freaking ever to get to that scene. I had assumed, reading the back of this, that what was going to happen is we were going to get to a cabin and things were going to get crazy. And it kind of happens, but a lot less than I was expecting for it being a Tessa Dare, from what I've already read of Tessa Dare, and for the description on the back of the book. It took a while. It took a while for them to get in that cabin and for them to start proving that they were a good match. So yeah, this still, though, it sounds like I'm being really negative. Tessa Dare is amazing, and she has a lot of humor. She has really fun characters, even though I didn't necessarily love these characters as much as the other books' characters that I've read. I did, especially the secondary characters, really appreciate them, and even the main characters weren't bad. I appreciated that they had a complex storyline, and the death of her brother that was kind of hanging over them. All of that was really good. Tessa Dare is an amazing writer, and I basically want to read everything that she's ever written. So don't get the impression that I didn't enjoy this. I did give it a 4 out of 5. It is better than a lot of typical romance books I pick up. It does a lot of good things. It has great author voice. It's good. It's just, it's not as good necessarily as the other two I've read. And also, for me, I think I don't love it as much in the paper as I do in the audio. Especially after having listened to the audio first. Like, I could hear it in my head, the audiobook narrators, and I'm like, I kind of want that. I think I would enjoy this much better in an audiobook. So that is basically my thought. I don't even know if this is available in audio, I should say. But that is kind of my thoughts on this. I do plan on reading the Spindle Cove series. Maybe not next, but in the near future. And yeah, if you have read this, what were your thoughts on it? If you have read the Spindle Cove series, is it a good series? Like, compared to, I believe I'm reading Castles Ever After. I believe that's what When a Scot Ties the Knot and Say Yes to the Marquess is in. So is it, like, compare it, if you can, Spindle Cove to that. if you are a big Tessa Dare fan, what books should I prioritize reading? Which ones am I likely to love the most? Again, so far I have absolutely loved When a Scot Ties the Knot. I really liked but didn't quite love Say Yes to the Marquess. And I think I've already put hold on at the library for another book in that series, in the Castles Ever After series, but I couldn't swear to you. So anyway, just let me know like where I should be heading with Tessa Dare, what I should be prioritizing, and if you've read them, kind of what's your favorite, what's your least favorite. Will I appreciate this novella more after I read the Spindle Cove series? I assume that I will, but let me know. All right, guys, all the usual stuff. Please like and subscribe. My social media is below if you'd like to contact me outside of YouTube. Also, I'm a novelist. I write romance novels, including historical romance. So if you'd like to check me out, my books are available everywhere. Kindle Unlimited, I have several, including my most recent historical paranormal. All of these are under Jane B. Knight, but you might have better luck looking it up by titles. I added the Author Central link down there so you can get connected to all of the books I've written. But I'm also on Smashwords. I'm also on Barnes and Noble and Kobo and Overdrive. So if your library has Overdrive, you can look my books up there. If they haven't bought them, you can always recommend them. So yeah, I really would appreciate if you would check out my books as well. I obviously love reading historical romance, and I write it too. All right, guys, this is Jane. See you next time. Bye.